Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Learning Hand Tool Woodworking. We are on episode 25, and today we're going to learn how to make a simple single dovetail where we join two rectangular pieces of wood. This is exercise 57 in the teacher's handbook of Sloyd, and if you're interested in that, of course, there's going to be links down below. Now, if you watched last week's episode, you might say to yourself, why are we on episode 57 instead of episode 38? Because remember, we did exercise 37 last time, and now we're on 57. The answer to that is really quite simple, because two reasons. One, I wanted to group all the joints together. So remember, we did the half lap joint, we did the pegging joint, now we're doing the simple dovetail joint. All right, so I wanted to get all the joints together. Also, the order in which he presents the joints didn't really make sense to me, because episode 45 is a sliding dovetail, and I figured we ought to learn how to make a basic dovetail before we get into a sliding dovetail. Now you'll notice what it is. I took the marking gauge and I picked about the halfway point for the piece of wood here. The dimension is not critical. What is critical is that they're the same. So then I mark the face of the wood to get my depth cut. All right, take a simple dovetail marking gauge, and it really doesn't matter, again, what the dimensions are, as long as you are keeping them consistent. So the important part is we'll match up the dovetail to the pin. So the sizes themselves really aren't that critical. What is critical, though, is making square cuts. And by the way, just for the sake of 100% honesty, this is exactly my second dovetail I've ever tried cutting. So I'm going to say things today that might make it sound like I know what I'm talking about, but rest assured that mostly what I'm saying came from other people. All right, I have squared off this top here, so to help, hopefully, using the dovetail saw, cutting straight across the line, we are going to cut down to our scribed line there. All right, are you going to be able to see this way? Cutting in this direction, that just does not feel right to me. But it's a skill we got to learn. If we're going to do dovetails, we got to be able to cut in both directions. All right, cut down to the line. And that looks fairly square. So now, you know what I should have done? I should have taken this all the way around. So we'll put our knife in the mark, bring up the again, knife in the mark. Knife in the mark. All right. Put it back in the vise. We want to cut as close to vertical as we can. Now, even though this is a cross cut, I'm using my dovetail saw. Boom. All right. Come back over on this side. Again, this angle is a little bit uncomfortable for me. So after we have that, again, we'll take our chisel and we'll just clean up corners, make sure we're nice and crisp. So what I personally think is the most important part, and again, more experienced people can chime in and let me know, but I think this shoulder right here needs to be as square as possible, and these faces need to be as square and smooth as possible. Now the reason that the tail itself doesn't matter as much other than looks. All right. Now that I'm looking at this a little closer, see how I missed my line right there? I was not at all square. I mean, nowhere. I wasn't even close to square. Let's take a look at that. Okay, that's square and that's square. So that tells me I have a better chance of getting a good fit there. Now we bring our vertical piece up. This is actually going to be the horizontal. And we want to give it the best opportunity we can to be square. So we'll bring the square up to that. Close the gap, make sure. All right. So now what we'll do is take our marking knife. Oh, see how I let that twist? You can't have that. Square, square. Put a little pressure on there. Okay, boom. I'll let it twist again. Get the square. I am messing that up all the way around. I'll tell you what, let's flip this over and start again. And I might have an easier time if I just use a pencil. Okay. Oh. And let's extend our lines all the way around. All right, there's a couple of ways we can do this. We can put it in our vise. I think that will certainly give us the best vantage point. We could mount it on the vise with a hold down. Let's see what we can do here. And again, in this case, we're going to go inside the line, which means the dovetail probably won't fit. And that's okay. All right, inside the line. We can take our chisel and we can clean it up. So how do you take out the waste? A couple of different ways you could do that. You could come in with a coping saw and take that out. But since this is oak, it's pretty straight grained wood, we're gonna chisel it out. Let's come out just a little bit away from the line, give it a couple of taps, taps. And now we'll just come in with some paring strokes. See if we can clean that up a little bit. So one thing that I forgot to do at the very beginning was to mark my reference surfaces. So, all right, the only reason I know that was the bottom, because that's the side I messed up on. So now let's try and match these dovetails up. That does not work. All right, so it is close. Actually closer than I imagined. All right, so we got two options. We can pare the pin out a little bit larger because we did go away from the line, or we can try and pare the tail. Which one do you think would be easier? I think paring the tail is going to be a little bit easier. The angle seemed to be right, so I don't want to change the angle. I want to change the width. Okay. Let's pare this side just a little bit. Okay, now it's the end. So let's see if we can. The other thing, you know what I really need to do is clean that bottom up a bit. Stabbing strokes, stabbing the paring strokes going across the grain. All right, how's that for the second dovetail that I've ever done? Okay, it is a nice tight fit, so overall this thing is not going to go anywhere, but there is a little bit of a gap here and just a tiny little bit of a gap there, but it's tight over on this side, so shows me I got a little bit out of square, but tight joint. And if we were to put a little glue on there, I don't think this joint is going to separate anytime soon. There you have it. Simple single dovetail joining two pieces at a right angle. All right, I hope you're enjoying this. So next time I think we're actually going to get into the slotting or bridle joint. So be sure you stay tuned for that. Friends, take care. God bless.